We are kicking off our very first piece of content for today. We have Jason Zollan, who is head of retail at Constructor. He's going to talk about balancing retail media ROI with a seamless brand experience. So give a round of applause for Jason.
I run about 20 miles a week on average, and my hotel is on 39th Street, and I took a cab here because it is blistering hot. It's not so much that it's 100, it's that the low is 80 for me, which is tough. So as Jenny said, I'm going to talk about retail media today. I'm going to give you a couple of different perspectives of retail media, and the whole point here is thinking about retail media from the perspective of how to not only make money from it, but also protect your brand, protect your user experience. I'm just curious, given the context of this entire conference, how many of you have a retail media network right now? Nobody. How many of you are thinking of standing one up or have thought about standing one up? One person. Perfect. Well, let's talk about what that might be. So my name's Jason Zollan, again, head of retail media at Constructor, and I want to go through those kind of different perspectives. For those of you who haven't heard about Constructor, I give this just for context. Constructor is a search and product discovery company, a search engine essentially built from scratch for e-commerce companies. We're a pretty new entrant into this space. There's maybe 30 some odd competitors out there that do the same thing. Because we're so new to it, we were able to build a search engine from scratch that was just for, again, e-commerce. We don't dabble in other areas. E-commerce is very nuanced, it's very specific, and we want our tool to be able to do the best it can to power your native search technology and give the right users the right product at the right time from an organic experience. So our job is really, if you are searching for a product as a user, if you're being recommended a product, if you're browsing for products, essentially anywhere you can be shown a product, we want to make sure that that product is as attractive to you as possible, as personalized as possible, and more importantly, strives to go to whatever business metric you're going for. Those business metrics change, they're different for anyone, and we want to go to that specific business metric. So that's what we do. Just a quick blurb about me. I've been in the advertising technology space for maybe 20 years, which makes me feel very old. I started at Microsoft in search, actually. So before Bing existed, it was called Live Search, if anyone remembers Live Search. So I helped launch Bing, and more importantly, the ad tech behind Bing that powered Bing, the advertisers, the advertising network behind that. Moved over to Yahoo, spent about 13 years at Yahoo. Yahoo was a lot of things in that time, but I was always on the advertising technology side. So I helped stand up Yahoo's mobile ad tech, their native advertising platform, and then we bought a company called Brightroll, which is a video programmatic platform with the intent of building our own. So I was on the executive team there, standing up that tech stack and putting out our programmatic into the world. We were a ton of names. We got bought by Verizon at one point. We were known as Oath. We were known as Verizon Media. And then we went back into private equity and we're called Yahoo again, thankfully. And now I'm at Constructor. So kind of full circle back to my search engine roots, just in a little bit of a different way and a nice pivot. So that's a little bit about me. You might be wondering why a search and product discovery platform is even talking to you about retail media. And actually, back in March in Las Vegas at Shop Talk, we announced our retail media suite at Constructor. I'm not going to talk too much about that today. This is not a sales pitch. I do want to talk about retail media a little bit more broadly. So we were actually pulled into this space by our customers, retailers like you. So as more retailers were standing up retail media networks, they kind of came to us and sought help, insights, information. If they're standing up a retail media network, they're asking us things like, hey, can you help make sure that the ads that I'm showing to people are just as relevant as what you're helping me serve on the organic side? Can you help me make sure that there's deduplication happening with ads and organic listings? So the last thing I want to do is show an ad for a product and then the organic listing shows up right next to it and I've got a duplication. Can you help me make sure that my page layout doesn't change? My pagination concerns aren't getting hit? Things like that. So they came to us and started asking for help. And so we took that notion of optimizing towards a business metric and applied it to the paid side of the program at the same time. And so what you want to do here is make sure that if you're going to introduce ads, you want to do it in a way that's still going for that metric, whatever it is. If you're optimizing for profitability, you want to make sure that your paid advertisements are doing the same thing. If you're optimizing for lifetime customer value, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're treating it the same that you would your organic listings. And so we're also pretty keenly aware of what happens to the user experience and what happens to brand trust when you're showing irrelevant ads to folks, which is kind of our job as a search engine on the organic side, right? You want to make sure that everything is adding to the user experience. And so when that goes wrong, it can be a big problem for customers, for your users. So I think about early days of web search, right? So Microsoft and Yahoo were leading the space, believe it or not, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And maybe 1-2 years, Google comes in and just takes over, and that market share just kept climbing. Some have argued it's a monopolistic kind of market share right now with Google. So the reason for that is Google put the right results in front of the right users at the right time. And when when Yahoo did paid sponsored listings on their search engine results pages, they did it in a bid to position kind of way. So if you were an advertiser and you were manufacturing cat toys, if you wanted to show up for dog food and you were willing to pay enough for it, all you had to do was pump that bid up and it would show your product, whatever it was, next to the organic listings in a paid result. When Google did this, they introduced what was called the quality score. So Google took into account the bid, of course, but they also took into account click-through rate and conversion rate if you were using Google to track it. So all the ads on the page also made sense. They were also relevant. And again, you see that market share continue to climb. And we kind of think of retail media the same way, or at least we should be. So why Constructor is doing this? Sorry, is this the same slide? Yeah. So charts. I have all the charts for you guys. If you guys haven't seen, retail media is exploding. So I got all the up and the right charts I want to show you. If you haven't heard, retail media just continues to gobble up from a percentage of digital advertising share, how much money is being spent on retail media. It's climbed, it continues to climb, and other forms of media are going down. It's also eclipsed from going from 1 billion in revenue to 30 billion in revenue. It's done so faster than traditional search and social. It did it 3 times faster than traditional search and twice as fast as social, believe it or not, and it continues to climb at the same rate. So those sort of hockey stick exponential growths are still happening today, and the reason for that is because it performs for advertisers. Anytime you would see, something like a tariff announcement and everyone needs to rein in spend, the first thing that goes is marketing budgets, and the first thing that go from marketing budgets are all the other things that are not search and social. We're going to pull from programmatic, we're going to pull all of our influencer marketing, we're going to pull our Super Bowl ads, but we're going to put it all into search and social because it performs. Now that third wave has become retail media. So advertisers are noticing this. They're noticing across the globe. It's not just the US. We are the biggest chunk of this. We have Amazon and Walmart here, which have a tremendous amount of market share when it comes to retail media. But it's growing at the same clip in other regional areas, EMEA, LATAM, and others. And it's pretty nuanced. It gets complicated really quickly. There are retailers at play. There are brands at play. There are business metrics to measure. There are tech stacks that power these things, and it gets really complicated super quickly. We have our own Lumascape when it comes to retail media. Depending on where it is that you're looking to stand up tech stacks, there's 16, 17, 25, 35 to choose from. And when you look at just the tech that powers the retail media networks themselves, there's still a bunch of them, way too many of them, and it gets complicated. It gets really scary, and that fear is warranted. So this is the last chart, I promise. This chart is looking at search spend within retail media versus traditional search. So search spend in retail media is essentially you're going to a retailer's website, you're searching for a product, right? So there's sponsored listings that are going to show up in that. Traditional search still growing. That black line is still growing. It's growing at a much smaller clip, and it's declining in its growth, whereas retail media search is just continuing to go up double digits, 20% plus, through 2028, where it will be a $77 billion industry. So retail media as a whole is likely to be about $170 billion. Again, a lot of that is Walmart and Amazon, but search specifically will be $77 billion. And so what we're trying to ask is, how can I monetize that without damaging my user experience. So if you haven't thought about, or sorry, if you don't have a retail media network, but you're thinking about standing one up, most people think, great, $77 billion total addressable market, high margin, very performant, outdoes search and social, great, let's sign up today. But most retailers are not doing this, at least without a lot of consideration, because of what it does to brand trust and the user experience, or at least what it could potentially do. So we kind of want to solve that question of how can we introduce ads, get paid media revenue, but not to the detriment of our site, to our user experience, or to our brand. So I want to give an example really quickly of just two different versions of what this might look like. So on the left is what a traditional kind of maybe bolted on or legacy retail media approach might look like. I'm not saying they all look like this, but this is what often they could look like. So a couple of things are going on here. So in this example, I'm not, but I'm an expecting parent and I'm searching for baby monitors. So on the left, entire top row is sponsored. That's not just the search for baby monitors, that's every single search. Any search result page that is triggered on this company's website, the whole first row is going to be sponsored every time. And then even further, it's like every fixed position underneath that. So maybe it's like every third or every fourth position. They're always the same sponsored listings. They always show up. You kind of get fatigued from them. You kind of tune them out. They're also being broad matched on a keyword basis with very little context. So you start to see things like on a search for baby monitors, you're seeing a nightlight, or you're seeing a floor stand, which tangentially might make sense, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for. It's not adding to my experience. It's not matching my user intent. And in the upper right, you can see the stat here. This is a Harris poll that was done late last year. Almost a third of users are abandoning their cart, abandoning the site, because there's too many ads. Now, I'll show you in a second what can happen if these ads are relevant, but that's a pretty staggering number. On the right is what it might look like if your organic system is talking to your paid system. And your paid system is aware of organic performance, and your paid system knows your target business metric and knows your user intent and knows a little bit about each user. So you'll see that there is no kind of whole row sponsored. There's actually 3 eligible ads in this scenario, and only 2 are being shown, and that's because the system knows that you're going to have a better chance of selling the third slot showing an organic listing versus a paid listing. So you're just foregoing the paid experience altogether because of what you know about the user, because everything's talking to itself. So that's the goal, right? Excuse me. So let's talk about the goals. So we want to maximize revenue, total revenue. In fact, we actually want to maximize profitability when we get that EBITDA, but we also want to protect lifetime customer value. So customers need to continue coming back, right? That's the reason that you have a retail media opportunity in the first place, because you've made your customers happy, you've shown them products that they care about, everything's personalized, and they continue to come back to you. If they don't come back, you don't have a retail media network to stand on, your business goes down. You also want to balance organic and paid at the same time. So again, these two systems want to talk to each other. They want to understand what the other is doing. You're not just optimizing towards clicks for the sake of click's sake. And then you want to keep the brand experience intact. Sounds easy enough, right? Sounds obvious enough, I suppose. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. And some folks do this really well. Surprise, surprise, Amazon does this really well. Amazon is by far the biggest retail media player on the planet. They're the reason everyone started standing these up. And they do it really well. So this is an actual search that I did a couple days ago for drumsticks, just drumsticks. I'm a drummer. Ideally, I would love to go into Guitar Center, pick up a pair of sticks, sit down on a kit, bang away, get a real feel for how the sticks feel in my hands. But in reality, online is just the easiest way to do this. So a couple of things are going on here. The first spot is organic. It's also flagging that I've purchased this before. It was a long time ago. I actually play on an e-kit now because I want to spare my family all the noise. So I go through a lot fewer sticks than I used to. But 3 years ago, I purchased this. Amazon knows this. It shows me this. And then the next two are actually sponsored listings. You'd have to squint to see it, but these sticks are highly rated. They're matching my intent. They're the same size of the stick that I purchased 3 years ago. I didn't even put that in my query. I just put drumsticks. It knows the size, so it's giving me the same size that I purchased before. They're highly rated. Everything looks great. And again, I have to squint to kind of know that those are sponsored at all. There's just a tiny little badge. It's perfect. This is why Amazon has about 99% coverage in terms of the longest tail of queries that are actually going to show sponsored listings. And they do about, I think, 10 sponsored listings on each page right now if you're on desktop. So they do it really well. But not everyone has a team of data scientists and all the engineers that Amazon has. So what kind of needs to be true for this to be possible for smaller retailers? So when you look at that last result, the paid listings are really just a different flavor of search. They're really another search result. So again, the problem that most retailers are facing is that they've got one ad server and they've got one organic search engine, and those two systems don't talk to each other. And what happens in that scenario is it's us, the customer, that suffers for it because we're getting mismatched ads, misaligned ads, ads that aren't going to a goal, ads that don't have any insight into what the user experience is. So you need to have those two systems talking to each other. If they're the same system, great, but if they're not, you want to partner with someone who's going to be able to tap into what's happening on the organic side so you can make that a seamless experience. Because what happens is the ad system is blind to the performance on the organic side, and if you don't have that performance insight, you can actually be showing an ad in a spot that will cannibalize organic growth. So if you show an ad for a product that has a lower propensity of being purchased by that specific user, and you don't show the organic ad, you're going to get short-term CPC revenue, sure, but a lower chance of getting added to cart, a lower chance of getting purchased, and a lower chance of profitability overall. So you need those two systems talking to each other. And at Constructor, we at least firmly believe that retail media is just another search engine problem. It's within the search results, at least a large majority of it is, so you should treat it as just another search result. And a good search engine already takes all these things into account, right? So if your organic search engine is taking in clickstream data, they're taking in attractiveness, they're looking at what a user is adding to cart, what they're eventually purchasing, what they're purchasing and maybe there's a high return rate of or a lower return rate of, a good search engine is already taking all that data in. So if you can communicate that data to the retail media provider or the ad server, everything is golden after that. When you have those two systems talk, a few things become possible, right? So when paid and organic are being monetized together, shown together, talking to each other, everything becomes a lot more contextually relevant. So across search, across browse, across recommendations, everything is not only contextually relevant, but it's adding to the experience of the user. And then your site is not, this is the most important piece of real estate on your site, these search results pages, these browse pages, these recommendations pages. So it's not a billboard. Your site shouldn't be a billboard. So yes, short term, you're gonna get all of this monetization from CPC clicks, you're gonna drive revenue, but you gotta think about the long term at the same time. So no matter how much you're getting paid by an advertiser to show an ad for a nightlight, if I'm searching for a baby monitor, I'm not gonna buy the nightlight. So if you have this instance where your two systems talk and you know, wow, I've got 100 different ads I can show, all of them are gonna make sense, all of them are matching my business metric, all of them are attractive to the user, it's great, show those ads, you absolutely should. But if you don't have any, you might not wanna show an ad at all because it's gonna do nothing but damage the user experience. So that gets to another principle of just kind of this helpful ads only kind of show ads that balance organic revenue at the same time, show ads that improve that business metric. Traditional systems, they really just want to monetize towards ad clicks. It's all about, hey, what's the highest bid? How many ads can I show? Let's get that whole top row fixed. Make them sponsored placements. Let's get every fourth slot afterwards. Let's jack up the minimum bid. Let's make sure we can drive as many clicks as possible because that's going to get me ad revenue. But no one's ever asking the question of, great, I've got $100,000 in ad revenue. What did that do to my organic sales? Did it make them go down? Did it make them go up? Did it make them do nothing? Ask that question, right? Because it's important. So you gotta switch. You gotta make sure if you're showing an ad, it's relevant. It's helpful to the shopper, that specific shopper, in fact, not just any shopper, but you've got that clickstream data from your organic engine, so you know what that specific shopper wants. Make sure that you're showing ads that are helpful, they're personal, they're attractive, they're matching the intent. Again, your website is important. It's an important piece of real estate. It's not a walking billboard. So that sort of notion of, if I don't have an ad that can help the user experience, don't show one at all, it gets really divisive with people. Someone will ask, how am I supposed to make money from retail media if I'm not showing ads? And it's a little bit of a shift in focus. So you just have to kind of take yourself out of that short term, think about the long term always, and just make sure that you're calculating both within your business intelligence tools. Make sure that you're taking into account every slot is an opportunity cost, right? So if you choose to show the paid listing over the organic, you could be potentially taking away from a higher propensity sale on the organic side. If you choose to show the organic over the paid listing, you're obviously foregoing the media revenue. So you kind of have to take all of that into consideration and just at least analyze it to make sure that it's adding to what your business metrics are. Again, not just showing ads for the sake of showing ads. And don't get tricked by misleading signals. You know, a high click-through rate doesn't necessarily mean a high conversion rate. Even a high conversion rate might not actually lead to overall profitability if someone's returning the product a ton or other business metrics that you as the retailer have. You have to take that all into account at the same time. So good things happen when we get this right. I want to go through just a quick little case study that we did with one of our advertisers. This is kind of a large household essentials customer. So we're an A/B testing company. Even on the organic search side, when we're powering your site with our search engine, we're going to do a proof schedule and an A/B test to show you that we'll do it better than anybody else. Don't just take our word for it. We do the same thing with retail media. So when we do an A/B test, we're looking for two major things. There's other things that come with it, but number one, we want to give you a pretty accurate forecast of what you can expect from an additional ad revenue standpoint. So if you stand up a retail media network, you choose these slots to be eligible for sponsored listings or show a sponsored listings in a recommendations pile, whatever it is, this is how much revenue you can expect. But more importantly, we want to show you that by introducing retail media ads onto your site, there's going to be no harm to organic revenue. So that forecasted revenue is in fact incremental revenue because we're going to prove to you that there's going to be no slowdown in organic revenue. And if there is, we'll investigate why. We actually haven't seen an instance where this has happened, but that's the first thing we want to show. So this company, we took 230 products across the site. We did 10 different browse pages, and we wanted to show those two things. Results were exactly what we were looking for, so there was no statistically significant dip in organic revenue. It actually went up, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we showed them that they can get an additional $2.4 million a year in just revenue. And again, that's incremental revenue because their organic revenue didn't dip at all. It actually went up a little bit. So true incremental revenue. This 2.4 million was actually a 2% overall lift in their overall online sales number. So pretty impactful. When it comes to the actual slight lift, it was pretty interesting. The data that we collected showed that really one of two things was happening here. So if you're a customer that goes to a site, you see that sponsored badge on something and you're thinking, I'm not going to click on that. It's just an ad. Because the ads were actually relevant to the user, even if you had this hesitancy to click on a sponsored unit, we actually found that they just kind of kept scrolling until they found an organic listing that they wanted to buy, clicked on that, made the purchase. Second thing that would happen is if you were a customer that didn't care about sponsored listings, or maybe you didn't even notice they were sponsored, because the two systems were talking to each other, we knew the user intent, we showed an attractive ad to somebody, they clicked and it led to more purchases. And so really good use case for what happens. The last thing I would leave you all with is our commerce next steps, right? So communication is key here. Number one, your two systems need to talk. If you want your organic engine to power your retail media, great. I mentioned that there's maybe 30 other competitors in this space to what Constructor does. To my knowledge, we're the only one that offers a retail media solution. But if you're going to pick another one, make sure it has the capability to talk to your organic engine to get all those insights so you're managing paid and organic at the same time, right? Relevance drives incremental revenue. That's what I just talked about that organic lift. So even if you're showing a bunch of sponsored ads, Amazon shows 10 a page, Target shows 8 a page, Walmart shows, I think, 10 a page. If they're relevant, it's going to lead to sales. And then treat sponsored listings like organic results. So they should be held to the same parameters in terms of, if an executive at your company is going to your site and they search for cat toys and they see dog food, they're going to be pretty pissed off. Don't let it happen on the paid side either. They should be held to the same standards. And then lastly is the shift from just driving media revenue to overall profitability. It's great if you can drive $2.4 million a year in retail media revenue, but at what cost to organic revenue? Ask that question. If you don't know the answer to that question, ask that question and make sure that there is no cost and it's truly an incremental lift. With that, that's all I have for you guys. Again, if you want to talk about retail media in general, our retail media solution, whatever it is, come see us. We're at booth 211, kiosk 211. But I appreciate your time. Thanks all.